All right, I guess we can start now. Judith already started recording. Ponsa, you can turn on your camera now. All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'm so delighted to be moderating our conversation today. My name is Faith Adebayo, and I currently work as an operations specialist for one of the global professional services firm. And we all know that right now there's a lot of conversations around the AI replacing human beings. We are living through a fascinating inflection point in our society today. And artificial intelligence is reshaping customer operations faster than most organizations can even adapt to it right now. But here is what we are not going to do today. We are not going to pretend this is simply an AI versus human being conversation, because that is not what is happening in the real world and in the organizations that we have today. Instead, we are going to be asking a more useful and meaningful question, which is, what should AI do better? And what should humans do better as well? And how do customer operation leaders design their realities right now in terms of how to infuse AI into the work that they do. And so that's what we're going to be exploring majorly today. But before we go further, I just want to take time to introduce our speakers to our audience this evening. And I'm going to start in no particular order. I'm going to be introducing our first speaker, who is Roger Nicholas. He is the founder and CEO and author of the CX Lighthouse. Roger brings a leadership lens to this conversation today, and with particular expertise in identifying the blind spots that businesses create for themselves when they implement new technology. Right. So please, if your hands are not too busy, let's give a virtual clap for Roger. Welcome, Roger. We're so happy to have you. Thank you very much. All right, thank you so much for joining us on today's webinar session. And second, I would be welcoming a customer experience leader with deep experience across contact center management, service measurement, and service delivery. She grounds this conversation in the reality of customer-facing operations and the human dimension of service. So everyone, please make welcome Elizabeth Ekanem. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
All right, we're so excited to have you join this conversation this evening. And finally, I had to do my research for this name pronunciation. All right, the final speaker is a Pan-African CX transformation leader working to advance customer experience across the continent. He brings research, data, and a perspective on what AI adoption means, specifically for African businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, please, a virtual clap and a warm welcome for Punsa Binka. Woo! Extra clap for me for pronouncing the name correctly as well. All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's so good to have you here. And without, wasting so much time, we're just going to dive into the conversation. And I just want to go around the speakers for this particular question to just know what we think, right? AI is already changing how customer operations teams work, right? From your perspective, what is the biggest misconception businesses have about AI and customer operations today? What do you think? Do you think there's a misconception to start with? And what do you think the biggest misconception is? No particular order. I think I'll just start with Roger. What do you think?
Thank you so much, Faith. Thank you for the warm introduction. Thank you, panelists. I'm humbled by this team of panelists and welcome guests. And thank you, CX Outsourcing, for inviting me to this opportunity. To answer your question, Faith, for me, I think the biggest risk when introducing AI is thinking that, well, it's really a fear. I'm not worried about AI replacing humans as much as I am worried about leaders automating broken processes and making blind spots that they should see for their business harder to see. To me, that's the biggest concern that I have.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. I don't know if Elizabeth want to add to that.
Yeah, thank you so much for the introduction, Faith. For me, I feel the biggest misconception is usually the fact that leaders in customer experience spaces just assume that once you've invested in AI, you are replacing humans, and they see it as a cost-cutting tool, as against seeing it as a capacity building tool or an enabler to the current experience you have with human support. So like my kids will say, I'm a mom, they will always say, oh, it's a magic wand. So some leaders just believe that you have a magic wand when you invest in AI and deploy AI in your organization. So because of that, automatically, you're going to have everything working perfectly for you. But usually that's not the case. So there's always has to be a balance between the human and AI support in any organization.
All right, thank you very much for that incredible insight, Elizabeth. Punsa, I'm aware that you are working across the African CX ecosystem, and I want to also know from your own point of view, is there a different narrative emerging here, or it's still the same for you?
Yes, thank you very much, Faith, for the warm introduction. Thank you, CX Outsourcing, for bringing us all here today. I think I would want to start with the first question which you asked. What's the biggest misconception around the AI narrative? We think across Africa that now when we adopt AI, it's just going to fix our problems, right? And that's a huge misconception, because AI will not fix your fragmented data. It will not. There are prerequisites, there are things you need to put in place for a smooth AI infusion into your system to start giving you the results you need. So like Lizzie was saying, it's not a magic wand. You're just going to move it and then things start happening. And we've observed that across the board. And where we are seeing very few organizations are even adopting AI for what it's capable of doing for them. And the problem comes with how we got introduced to it, right? Our first introduction to AI was maybe through ChatGPT, and then we could go there and ask an interesting question and it gave us something. And so it has given us blind eye, and we're not really looking at AI from what it's really capable of doing for an organization, which is also a big problem that we've observed across the continent. Thank you very much, Faith.
Thank you very much, Punsa, for that. If I want to just dig deep a little bit on what you spoke about. If you were to give like a typical example, a real life example of what you just spoke about, what is it going to actually look like? What does that actually look like inside a customer operations team? How do you think they can bridge that gap or working on their fragmented workflows, and then merging it with AI as well?
I was almost talking with my microphone cap. So I think the first thing is, AI gives us a very big opportunity to leapfrog from maybe where we were in terms of technology and meet up with the high economies where they are in terms of technology adoption and efficiency. It's an opportunity for us. But we have to understand that there's something called AI thrives on data. It thrives on data. And if you do not clean the data, what you would be doing is having a perfect system synchronized and working on wrong information. And that is terrible. And so AI is going to kill you faster than it's going to help you solve those problems. So one of those things we are seeing there is cleaning the data. Is our data clean? Is our data fragmented, or it is in one place? And some of the things I would share with you, we did a research on the state of the CX practice across the continent, and we were able to study 111 organizations where heads of CX were sharing their experience on how they're adopting AI. And guess what? 33% said they're just running pilot projects. 30% were just running pilot projects. 31% are just exploring options. We hear that this thing can do a change. And so what are we going to do about it? And 25% are no formal, there's nothing happening or formal thing going on around AI in the organization. Yeah, but they're doing it personally. They're using ChatGPT, Claude along the lines, but there is no AI formal conversation happening. And 10% totally, 10% are the only ones that say there is an extensive use of AI in the ecosystem. And so these are conversations I think we're going to be we'll deep dive into them as we go through the day.
Yeah.
The core message will be we need to prepare for the adoption of AI. We don't get up in the morning and because we have a budget, we adopt AI and it starts working for us. There is a process for that adoption. And when we miss that process, it becomes the same way we took the CRM. We heard that CRM is a very good thing. We need to have CRM. We brought in CRM. It didn't work for us. And now we're struggling to prove to the boards that the investment was, we're looking for always someone and where we're going to put the blame. So the same thing is with AI as well, not just in one country, but across the continent. We are seeing that very evidently.
Yeah, that's so insightful. Thank you very, very much, Punsa. So it's important that customer operations professionals work on fragmented workflows by themselves, because when you impute the right data, you get a better result from AI as well. Thank you very much for that. I'm going to be asking this important question from Roger. When businesses introduce AI into their customer operations, what leadership or operational blind spots should they be watching out for?
Yeah, I love that question, Faith. Thank you.
Okay.
I think there are a few things, maybe 4 or 5. I mentioned it earlier, automating a broken process. You know, oftentimes the conversation starts with, you know, where can we deploy AI? But is every process worth automating is the question we should start with. Because if the underlying process is broken, you know, with unnecessary steps or poor handoffs, or even unclear ownership or a lot of friction, AI is simply going to make a bad process faster and more scalable. So that kind of leans on what Punsa was saying earlier, right? Our source information has to be cleaned up first so that it becomes reliable when we start putting it into AI or any systems that we're putting it into. So from my lens, we should always look. We shouldn't automate the blind spot. We should be identifying what the blind spot is first, if that makes sense. A second point I think would be confusing AI adoption with automatic operational improvement. Elizabeth and Punsa also touched on this. A company can successfully deploy AI and still fail to improve customer or business outcomes, right? So the focus from my lens should be what operational outcome improved because we implemented AI. And there are many measurable outcomes that are important to success with customers and success with the business. Did we reduce time to value? Did we reduce time to resolution? Are there fewer errors? Is there a lower cost to serve? Maybe even better customer retention, or a good one, improved employee productivity, or some type of increase in decision speed. Those are the measurable things I think we should be looking for as operational improvement, not just did we implement AI. A third would be one of my favorites, and what our company, the axis of what we do, is I think many businesses look downstream for answers as opposed to upstream. Typically, leaders notice the problem when the metric changes, which is a downstream outcome for me. You know, so churn increases or customer complaints increase, satisfaction scores decline, maybe even some type of cost or cost to serve increases. or employees getting frustrated, but the cause for that might have happened weeks before, even months before, earlier upstream, some type of operational decision. So we see it as the customer outcome is often the symptom and the blind spot is upstream. So we should be looking for the blind spots, because AI creates great opportunities for us to connect the blind spot signals or the upstream signals, but only if leaders are deliberately looking for the causal chain and are intentionally trying to build the capacity to see further upstream. The fourth one I'd mention is removing human judgment instead of amplifying it. I think AI is really good at handling what machines are good at: pattern recognition, repetitive work, analysis, prediction, and even scaling. But humans have to be responsible and accountable for context, judgment, empathy, exceptions, ethics of thought, and consequential decisions. Because AI could recommend a decision, but I don't think AI should own the consequences. A human should do that. And then finally, failing to ask what becomes possible as a result of AI, and not just what becomes cheaper. And here's what I mean by that. Many companies start the conversation off with, well, how much time or money can AI save us if we deploy it here, there, or wherever? And that's an important question, but I think it's incomplete. I think it should include asking, what could our people do with the extra capacity that AI frees up? So for instance, AI might reduce or remove 30% of the repetitive work, but is the organization now able to deliberately redirect that freed up capacity towards higher value activities? Things like relationship building or problem solving or proactive customer interventions, strategic thinking, or even continuous improvement of product and processes. Because without that as the goal, I think what we have is just more efficiency without transformation. You know, so those will be leadership and operational blind spots I think we should be watching out for.
That's a rich response right there. Thank you very much, Roger. I just wonder, in just 1 minute, I don't know if you can help us answer this. Some companies passionate about customer operations do not even know that there is a blind spot. You know, how do they identify blind spots? Like, can you paint a picture, a typical picture of what a business experiencing blind spots actually looks like from the inside?
Okay.
You know.
Okay, that's a good question, and I'll try not to take too much time because that's my first love. Okay, I want to respect my fellow panelists.
Thank you.
Well, firstly, all businesses have blind spots, just like all humans have blind spots, right? But your question is a good one because we actually don't know what we don't know. So if we keep it aligned to the main topic for today, which is AI and human and designing custom operations, before we implement AI, Faith, I think we should be asking several questions, and this will help us determine where our blind spots are, or at least begin the process of identifying that. The first I would ask is, what customer or business problem are we trying to solve for, right? And then the follow-up question would be, what upstream operational conditions are contributing to that problem that we're trying to solve for? Then definitely, what human judgment must remain in the process? Because like I said before, AI is great at identifying patterns and so on and so forth, and even recommending actions. But a human needs to own the consequences. A human needs to approve the recommendation and then own the consequences. A fourth question, follow-up question would be, what could go wrong if the AI is wrong? I think a lot of people are diving in without having a contingency for what if the AI we've implemented goes wrong. Let's say something feeding the AI's execution is broken for, say, a minute while it's collecting and processing data. What happens then? Do we have something to pick that up? What outcome will tell us that the operation actually improved? Lots of times we employ or deploy new technology or the new sexy thing without really identifying how we're going to measure its success or slow success or failure. I think that will be important. And then what are we currently unable to see that AI can help us see? Because many times a lot of businesses have a lot of data, but all that data is for many businesses is in silos. And so we may know what our conversion rates are and renewal rates are later in the onboarding process or later in the relationship with the customer. But what do we know what's creating a loyal customer who stays, who renews, who upsells, who cross-sells, and who refers us? Do we understand what that behavioral profile looks like? That's an upstream signal that tells us if someone will or will not renew, will or will not refer, will or will not up-buy or cross-buy. So that's the lens. That's the lens I think will help open up the conversation and where to look for the blind spots, whether it be from a leadership or operational lens.
Thank you very much, Roger, for that. Thank you so much. A virtual clap. Thank you so much for that. One of the things that stuck with me from what you said is that AI might make the recommendations, but human beings must take the consequences or bear the consequences. You cannot blame AI for the results that you got, right? All right, Elizabeth, this question is for you. Customer operations is fundamentally about people, right? And as AI takes on more repetitive and transactional work, what human capabilities do you believe will become even more important for customer operations professional?
Okay, thanks, Faith. The human capabilities that we need right now in the age of AI is tremendous. We have AI taking away the high volume transactional workload. As Princess said earlier, when you have invested in AI, you need to ensure that you have your low-hanging fruits, end-to-end conversations or tasks handled by AI, and then the most important ones, which is the empathic engagement handled by humans. So for us right now, when you invest in AI and you put in your knowledge base, and the AI is feeding from a knowledge base, you put in your scripts, the AI goes in there. It can mimic empathy because as a human, you're the one that designed the script. So it mimics empathy, but when there are glitches in the process, the AI would not know what to do after that. What it can do is collect your information, run checks back and respond to you like a human will respond. But if you have some form of frustration in the entire conversation, that's where you need to hand over to a human agent, especially when the system we implemented in my organization, we always ask at the end of every conversation, are you satisfied with the resolution? Now, if the response is no, I'm not, at that point, we hand over to a human agent who would review that conversation to find out why there was a form of dissatisfaction while engaging the customer. Now, if it's end-to-end, we've given you the solution, fed from knowledge base, checked your data, transaction information, confirm that everything is working well. And then we ask that we confirm from you your satisfaction levels. We close out the conversation, and then we, of course, rate the AI, because if you're looking at customer satisfaction ratings for humans, you also have to look at it from the AI perspective. How well did the AI handle this conversation with the customer? So the empathy and intelligence required by humans is what we need to continue to invest in this age of AI, because we want the second point. I'm going to second point now, because at that point, that's when we know human judgment will come in. That's when we see discretion. So the AI asks the questions, gets stuck, hands over to human agents We don't want human agents to receive these conversations and still use the macros or the scripts that were initially given. We want them to read in between the lines. We need you to be able to be sensitive enough to identify distress in a customer's conversation or the customer's request. Using a typical example, recently, a customer asked for the status of his transaction, and the AI system. What happened was the customer says, "Oh, I carried out this transaction, but I've been carrying out this transaction to this same beneficiary. The transaction has been going through successfully, but this time around, I found out that the money went to somebody else, right?" And the AI went into the system, checked that the transaction was successful. The money went to a beneficiary, read the name of the beneficiary and confirmed that, "Oh, you've sent money to this customer before." But there was something there which the agents reading between the lines could review and use discretion to resolve. What happened was there was a system glitch. The AI did not see that system glitch. All it just saw was the transaction was successful. It was processed at this time. It went to his bank, but it did not see the edge case in that conversation. So human judgment and discretion are coming after the first one, which is empathy. The next we have is problem solving beyond script. I've said it before. When the AI hands over to a human agent, we don't want, for us, we want to ensure that we've developed people who are not going to be using routine responses. You need to go in there, review, and then make decisions, give the customers that comfort that you have diagnosed the situation, and then you identify root cause, and after which you come back to, feed the AI with a solution going forward. So we're looking at people who would come in, receive the request from the customer, apply discretion, come up with a solution, and then finally, intelligence, going back to feed the AI with the new process. So if an existing process or an edge case was not existing in your knowledge base on AI information, it's the people, the humans that you have still engaging that would come back and derive insights from that information and then go back into the system. So that in the future, when your customers come in with this kind of edge case, the AI system already knows how to resolve these issues. And to develop this, it's very important that you, as a frontline agent or a support agent, resolution, contact center, service recovery, whatever it is that you're doing in the customer experience space, it's important that you are high on critical thinking. You actively listen between the lines. You know how to de-escalate the situation, because you see situations where the AI keep on repeating over and over again what the customer has already heard and is saying, "This is not the solution, this is not what I want." So you're also able to de-escalate when you go into the conversation, and also offer like root cause analysis, which is where you come back, identify, and then feed the system back with information. Then you find out that the humans that you have are now working with the AI to build a better experience for the customers.
All right, thank you so much for that incredible answer. That's so thoughtful and insightful as well. And all that you have said is also very reassuring for every customer operations specialist out there. And it further reiterates that human beings cannot be replaced by AI, because there's a place for empathy, there is a place for human judgment, there's a place for intentionality, and only human beings can actually do that. AI wouldn't effectively do that. What we can do is feed the AI with the data that they need to work with. It makes the work easier, and then they produce the results that is necessary for the work that we do. Thank you very much, Elizabeth, for that response. But I want to further ask you, do you think businesses across Nigeria and in Africa and all across the globe, do you think businesses are currently investing enough in developing those human capabilities, or are they still stuck in automation mode? Do you think we are really investing in that?
We know most businesses are not investing in the humans, because most of your budget goes into investment in AI. And to ensure that this balance comes in. It's a conversation that we have running in so many organizations where I engage here locally. And you find out that, as I said earlier, the fear of replacing humans with AI it's out there. Now, when you say I'm not going to replace humans with AI, what are you making your humans know? That what value do they think they can bring into the system, especially the frontline teams, right? So every time we talk about at the beginning of the business year, the training needs of the team. What are the training needs that my team will need to go into? Do they need to have more AI structure, knowledge? Do they need to know about integrations? What do they know about software, softwares? How do I ensure that if there are any tweaks tomorrow, they can actually go and initiate, and then your managers review and approve, as against not even sensing that this is supposed to be reviewed and upgraded, basically. So the teams, the human agents in the organizations are not getting the right investment, but that's changing. As we keep on pushing conversations, we're going to keep on driving, developing your human representatives as you're developing the AI and automated systems.
All right. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And it's one of the reasons why I'm also grateful for platforms like this. Thank you very much, Judith of CX Outsourcing, for putting this together, because it sheds more light on the use of AI for customer operations professional, let them know what the future is like and what they need to do to further equip themselves for the future of the work as well. Do you understand? So thank you very much, Elizabeth. Thank you, CX Outsourcing, for this platform. Hunsa, you're working across the African CX ecosystem, right? And you're building standards, research, and you're also building professional development across the continent. And what do you think the adoption of AI means specifically for the future of customer operations across Africa?
Thank you once more, Faith. I would borrow a little bit from what Lizzie was already saying. It's a big opportunity. It's a huge opportunity. So AI is a major opportunity. Think of it this way. We didn't have the opportunity to go through the technological developments like the West. And now we have an opportunity to compete with them on the same battleground. We don't need the 1,000 years they spent making errors and getting to where they are now. Now we just need to plug and play and get to where they are. We can move, so we can leapfrog. That gap, we can skip it. I think there's a problem.
Yeah.
What's the problem? They spent a lot of time creating systems, which is one of our biggest issues on the continent. We don't have systems. We just do things. We have processes, but we don't have systems. The West invests a lot into systems. You don't doubt how you are supposed to hold the paper. It's defined, and there are even tools to help you in the holding of the paper process. We don't have that. And that is why customer experience for us is very variable, because it depends on the humor of the person offering it. So if I get up this morning and I come to work and I feel happy, I will offer a great service. And if I slept on the bad side, I will offer an awful service. There are no clear processes with accountability across the way on what does service look like. And that is standardization, which the West spent a lot of time working on. Then we have now an opportunity to bring in AI to improve our processes faster, to improve our systems faster. So it's a major opportunity for the continent, not just for us to improve how we deal with customer experience, but to really redesign our organizations. A huge opportunity. But we are observing from the research, like I said earlier, we did the state of the CX practice research in Africa under the Africa CX Leaders Forum, and we observed that just 10% of the 111 organizations say we have fully 100% adopted AI. And then when we even went further to say, oh, you've adopted AI, what are you doing with AI? We observed that there was still high dependence on, we're still using AI for chatbots, we're using it to reduce cost, we're using it for contact center, sentiment analysis. It's good. It's very good. But it is like stage 1 in AI adoption. It's like you're so proud about the syllabus you're doing in the first year of college. So, we're learning biology, chemistry, and you're putting it's like beautiful work you're doing, right?
Oh my God.
There is still 7 years of curriculum ahead of you that we are not yet covering, right?
Yeah.
And so we are saying the adoption is still low, but we understand why. Because when you say you've adopted AI fully, like we said, and Rogers clearly said it, there's some prerequisites. There's the environment you have to put in place to make AI work for you. But do we already have that? So many organizations are afraid to do that because they are not ready. But there is even the bigger fear, because AI simply means transparency. There was a time when organizations started breaking down walls and putting glass walls separating different organs. So I could sit in my office and see the BM. I can see his face. We can see ourselves eye to eye. And the reason was just to put in the brain that it's a transparent process. And so I do what I have to do, you do what you have to do, and we're working for the organization. But the problem is, what AI is doing is it's bringing everything back to the lamplight. And so if there was some process that you kept hidden or something you kept hidden, for AI to work and for us to get the benefit for the organization, the data has to come out. And when the data starts coming out, we start seeing flaws, right? We start seeing that, we spent 1 year building a flawed system, right? We spent 1 year building as what we call spaghetti processes and all of that. So yes, we are still at a very remote adoption of AI, but also it's an opportunity for us to really redefine the needs of the customers, see them more clearly, detect. So for AI to really work at its best, we have to think of it as the tool that helps us to fully understand our customers. Do we understand our customers? How can AI help us understand the customer? And I like what Roger said. Why do we want to adopt it in the first place? Why? Because if you don't know why you're adapting it, because in the news everyone is doing it, or you heard in one webinar by outsourcing, CX Outsourcing, that AI is, and then you're adopting. No, why do you want to adopt it?
Yeah.
And while the adoption is still low, the key problem that we are facing is we are not yet too sure how we can, the guardrails, and this is not an African problem alone. This is a worldwide problem, the guardrails. How does AI sit in all of this? How sure am I that when I put all my data into this thing, another person is not going to have access to it? How sure? So there are lots of questions we're asking. And that's why Europe took a lead in this. They developed what we call the EU AI Act. It is the first guardrails for AI that has been developed. Nowhere else in the world has this. The EU or the European Union is always taking a leap ahead in these things. I mean, GPPR. And now today, they're saying, when you create AI, make sure that these are the rules. And they're telling organizations they're giving organizations by 1st of January 2027, we have to play by the new AI game rules, right? And this will give organizations a little bit more comfort. We think it's going to improve adoption on the continent. Because now, if I am an AI producer and I am aligning with these rules that have been defined, then organizations feel more protected, because AI now, we know it has value, we know it can improve our processes, we know, but most organizations are afraid, they are not too sure on how they can bring this. What happens with all of our processes? Does this mean we're taking our business secrets to the market? So those are questions that are running across minds across the continent. And we know the adoption of AI will help us to also know where we are failing, right? It would help us to know where we are failing. It would help us to see where data is still fragmented. It It would help us to know where accountability is still needed, right? It would help us to know how can we move from insights to action? Because right now, it's clear. We know what our problems are. Trust me, we know what our problems are. The biggest gap we have is we are not yet acting on those problems. Maybe it is resources. Maybe it is we've not invested in the right technologies and all of that. But AI will give us an opportunity here to know and to be able in a faster and cheaper way, what can we do now? What can we be able to do? What can we be able to do later? But then there's a big problem. There's a huge problem. I had the opportunity to work with a couple of brands across 18 countries in Africa, and there was this institution is trying to bring in AI into its ecosystem and bring in all of this, and then they are hit with one problem. Now, look at these systems have been built somewhere in the West, Europe, US, and all of that. They have been trained on global languages, English, French, Spanish, and all of that. In Nigeria, how many languages do we have? Because in Cameroon, we have 255.
Wow.
Now, that becomes a huge problem. Now, when these models land in, there's the problem of language, there's a problem of context. I can tell you that, I can tell you something. The English words mean something, but the interpretation is something totally else. Something totally else. And so the question is, as we are adopting AI on the continent, there is that new problem, which is interpretation. And we need to make sure that we are picking models that understand our languages and that understand our context. Don't just pick a model because it's the best in the market. Think in terms of, does it understand the context here locally, right? Okay, we watched a video which is trending on all over social media about Tony, right? And so someone watching it in the UK will not even understand, but like, what are they talking about? But in Nigeria, we understand the context. We are like, Tony, are you serious? But in the UK, that is normal. So you see, if a model was trained to know, we call it Tony, and here we are in a space where when you call it Tony, it doesn't make sense. Can we trust the judgment from that model? So those are lessons. It's a big opportunity for the continent, but we have to pick it gradually. We have to, I will go back again to what Roger said. Why are we adopting it? Ask yourself that question. Why are we adopting it? Then, okay, are we ready? What will it take for us to be ready? Put in place the prerequisites to be able to do it. And then bring it, but underlining, yes, it's a big opportunity for us. Are we ready? I cannot answer that question. Can we use it? Yes, we can use it. Is it going to be very disastrous for us at the beginning? It will be very disastrous. But do we need to go through that broken process to be able to get to the point where finally our African businesses are now living in an AI era, using AI, improving? Yes, we can be able to reach there. Permit me to cite something again from the research which we did across the continent. And we asked these organizations, okay, because we know that data is going to be key in the adoption of AI. So we asked them, okay, in terms of data, how well do you collect and have data on your clients? Clean data, structured data, informed data. And guess what? Only 21.2% reported fully centralized customer data. 21.2. Faith, we're talking about an emergency crisis. 21.2. It's a big problem. Because you bring a model on that, it is disaster for the company. What these models do, they thrive on data. They would use the data and they would help you develop a strategy you're going to do. But what if that strategy is based on the wrong information? So you see what that does to you? So 21.2% reported fully centralized customer data. So which means that we're talking about 80% of data lying in silos in different organizations. And for one of these organizations said they have partially connected systems here. My system, here we in CX department, we talk a little bit with marketing, we talk a little bit with products, we share some information. 26 of these organizations said they have highly fragmented data. They said, I cannot trust our data because until head of this, we all meet in one room, that is the only time the data makes sense because every other person can confirm that, yeah, that is right from our side. This is what is happening. And 22 of these organizations are saying our data is mostly siloed. And we've had conversations with lots and lots of these institutions, and everyone is clear. Still have a huge data problem, not just Africa, trust me. So when we are having this AI conversation, let's take it back to the back of our minds. Why do we want to do this? And are we ready? And for us to be ready, let's start with cleaning the house. We're going to start sweeping, okay? Adjusting everything. We have to tell AI that on the left is the fridge, on the right is the TV, on the other side is the gas cooker. We have to teach AI. And the question is, we will only teach AI if we know where the fridge is located, where the TV is located, where the gas cooker is located. Do we have the processes in place for that? That is where we start. But is it a big opportunity? It's a huge opportunity for us as a continent.
Wow. 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 That is incredible. That is incredible. I can see Roger doing this. Oh, that's incredible. Thank you so much, Bunsa. I need not say too much about that. That was insightful. That was clear enough. Thank you for speaking to us with so much clarity and insight. I just want to throw this question to everyone, and I'm very curious to see and to listen to how Roger is going to answer this from a leadership standpoint, right? If AI handles more of the repetitive work, what should customer operations professionals be spending more of their time doing?
Now, following Punsa right now is not a good thing for my career, but I'm going to try my best. Okay? No, I love this question, Faith, because it's really critical. Because things, based on what Punsa's research has found, based on where things are shifting, not just on the motherland, but also in the US and in the Caribbean, where I'm from, I think we need to frame what we're thinking as customer professional. I think we need to shift from task execution to signal interpretation. Also moving from just answering problems to anticipating problems, right? Instead of just managing transactions, we should be looking to manage relationships. Instead of just following a process, we should be looking to improve the operating system. And finally, I think instead of just reporting what happened, we should be looking to help leadership understand what might happen next. Because in customer operations, we have the closest eyes to the most important levers of the business. Who buys, how much they buy, if they buy again, an upsell, a buy, a premium buy rather, if they have an add-on purchase, if they renew, and if they refill, and how much it costs to do all of that. We're closest to that. So we should be, instead of just working in the operation, we should be the ones interpreting the signals coming from the operation and then helping the organization make better decisions. So if I were to summarize that, I would say think signal, decision, and outcome.
Think signal, decision, and outcome. Powerful. Yeah. I'm not going to forget that. Think signal, decision, and outcome. Thank you so much, Roger, for that. And I also want to just lay a little bit of emphasis on what you spoke about. And Pose already mentioned that a lot of organizations have processes, but they do not have systems. So, and then you mentioned again that organizations must implement systems, enforce systems in place, ensure that there are systems in place, not just putting in process. There is process, but there must also be systems in place. Elizabeth, I want to hear from you from your frontline lens. What do you think about this? If AI handles more of the repetitive work, what should customer operations professional be spending more of their time doing?
Okay. So for me, I feel the low-level task the AI handles, customer experience professionals should now focus on continuous learning, model improvement. We can't remain on the same level that you were, and hope for learning. You need to go back to what's happening out there. What is in AI? How can I apply AI to my work? Questions that we asked in our organization, and towards the end of last year, we looked at, okay, everybody's talking about frontline. I am investing in AI frontline to handle the low-level task. I'm investing in my people to be able to identify edge cases and, improve the models. But this is not just for frontline. We also have to look at the performance part of it. I think Roger mentioned it. When you're looking at the performance of the people, of the systems, of the processes that you put in place, how well are you constantly checking? And you set up a team or a structure to constantly check your investment in AI. What, as Roger mentioned, what questions are you asking yourself? What outcomes are you looking for? So if I am continuously learning and I'm improving the model, it's because I have asked myself, what do I want this AI to do for me? If it's not doing it today, it means that I still have more to improve the model. So continuous learning, model improvements. Then the other thing I've also looked at is in the space where you're looking at your CX matrix across your team, you define certain matrix, you use AI to extract this information from the system. Before you would have a workforce manager, a performance manager, but now you have AI doing that. Well, the next thing you're going to do is, how do I still same thing model improvement, deployed a quality assurance solution to review all the conversations that are handled by the frontline and other teams across the organization. So it's not just a CX thing. When we say CX, it's not just about a unit, as I always say. CX is a verb, right? It's the experience of the customer across different touch points in the organization. So even from the product side, what are you looking at when you're building the products? Are you thinking about the experience of the customer? From the frontline side, are you thinking about the experience of the customer? In performance management angle, are you thinking about the experience of the customer? And in all of these areas, how do we identify the quality of engagements going out? Am I deploying quality assurance tool that is powered by AI that gives me real-time high-risk cases, visibility to high-risk cases? All of these things are the things that if we did not have our CX professionals internally developing themselves, they would not know that they have to look for certain things within the AI solution that has been deployed. So we should just remember, we can't stop learning. Every day, everything's changed. Sometimes we sleep and wake up and then find out that a new issue has come up and your team has to know, okay, what to do about this? I cannot deploy people because you keep on building people when things fail. Deploy AI. So if I'm deploying AI, what questions am I asking? Why did it fail in the first place? What solutions can I put in to ensure that it doesn't recur, so that I holistically eradicate this particular issue from the ecosystem? So continuous learning, model improvement is important for every CX professional out there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth, for that response. That's incredible. That's incredible. If I'm to summarize all that you have said in 2 words, it's continuous learning and modern improvement. Very important. Continuous learning and modern improvement. As we close out on the webinar today, I want to ask you, Punsa, what is one thing customer operations professionals should start doing? What should they start doing? I mean, after knowing the why, after identifying the why, and then putting in the processes and all of that, What do you think they should start doing today to prepare for the future of AI? Because like you said, we've not even scratched the surface yet. You know, there is more. So how do we prepare for the future of AI as CX professionals?
Thank you, Faith. My response is just going to be a continuation from what Lizzie just said. It starts with that continuous learning. And I will scare you a little bit. I have a friend of mine who is in the USA. I want to remind you, there was a time when you were studying accounting, there was ACCA and these things when you were, it was a top profession in the world. If you were studying ACCA and you were doing accounting, finance, you were sitting on top of the professional ecosystem. And then boom, cloud computing came. And then they talked about cloud computing, AWS, and everyone left to right. If you were not in tech, you had lost your mission on earth.
I can relate.
I know a lot of friends. I know a lot of friends in tech who are studying medicine now. They are switching careers. They are searching for jobs left and right.
Real.
I have bad news for us in CX. I have bad news. The thing is, we keep saying AI is not going to take our jobs. If we don't do what Lizzie is talking about, continuous learning, model improvement, which is also continuous learning for us, upskilling, we're just going to get obsolete very soon. Nobody's going to pay you to collect customer feedback anymore. Nobody's going to pay you to analyze customer feedback. AI is doing it. Nobody's going to pay you to develop a strategy to do after the AI is doing it. So I want everyone to go back and ask, what is my daily job? I get up in the morning, we collect the feedback, we bring it, we analyze, we want to see what complaints came. Did they come from this branch? You spend the whole day trying to triangulate and understand what complaint came from this branch. No one's going to pay anyone for that anymore. It takes 5 minutes for an AI solution to analyze all the data and point who, and even tell who needs training now in the ecosystem. So the question is, what happens to our jobs? Is it going away? No, it's not going away. But we need to change and upskill and change. What are we going to be paid for now? We will be paid for taking ownership on our customer outcomes. So the question is, the CEO will sit and say, look, guys, our market share is dropping. And they'll ask Lizzie, how are we going to do to cope on this? And Lizzie would say, we have a problem. And the problem is X, Y, Z because AI has clearly defined it. The question is, you're taking ownership. How am I going to take that problem, make sure we solve it, and make sure that it's contributing to the business objectives of the organization? So for us as an industry, we are on slippery grounds. And so if you're still that powerful CX person who spends the whole day in operations, understanding customer problems, dotting the I's, Power BI, beautiful graphs, we come and we show how powerful we are working and looking relevant, you're going to get very irrelevant very soon, very, very quickly. So the question now is, what do we do now? And Liz is talking about it, model improvement, continuous learning. We are learning from this, and we need to also see what can the AI do already, and what do we have to start focusing on? Go and start learning how to interpret. And Rogers mentioned it very clearly. Very well. What is the role of the human now? What is my role now? In the AI ecosystem, we're now calling the human in the loop. The human in the loop. The EU AI Act helped us a little bit. It helped us. We want to thank the European Union for protecting the profession a little bit, because they said, we don't want any system that goes end to end with AI. We want a human in the loop. So what's the role of the human in the loop? Judgment is, you've seen the problem, you have defined the solution, and you have said what we should do. Do I think that's relevant? That's your only role now. Is it relevant? And your relevance depends on who your CEO is. Because relevance depends on what did CEO define as our corporate objectives for this year. And I prove how this decision of AI will contribute to directors' objective of market share. And so our role now has changed. We now have to focus on, we have to go back to business school and start learning. What is market share? We have to learn those things. And our role now is to prove the return on investment. He's an expert in that. He can sit you in well on that. Please push him a question around that. He will help you. How can we prove the return on the investment on that AI, on that CX, on that? CEO doesn't care about NPS. He does not care about satisfaction going up, going down. The question is market share. The question is sales. The question is, how is all of this thing contributing to that? And if you cannot answer the question, you're in the wrong profession. So, my dear CXS, we either leave this webinar and start learning medicine. For those who want to learn medicine, I have a few ideas on how you can switch. But for those who have to stay in the profession, then we have to really think, do we speak the CEO's language? And if we're not speaking, go and start learning how to speak his language. Because we are just now the human in the loop.
Wow.
We are just the human in the loop. And so as technology evolves, human beings must also evolve.
Yes.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Virtual clap.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Bunsa. Thank you so much. That's incredible. I'm just gonna go around speakers to hear what our final thoughts are because we're closing out. I'm enjoying this webinar a little bit too much. I also do not know. I would like to take maybe one or two questions from the audience if we have any. But while we wait for them to put in their questions in the chat box, I just want to go around from Elizabeth. What would be your final words about AI, humans, CX, the future of work? What are your final words?
Okay, for us as sex professionals, we not see it as enemy or rival. We should see AI as our assistant because just said so. And the humans in the loop. So when we develop ourselves, we are on top of our game to develop the AI model that our organization is using. And you're enabling AI. So you end up finding out that if you're not there to make all of these changes, then the AI becomes repetitive, it becomes stale, and we need people who know what to do. AI is not your enemy, it's not your rival, it's your assistant. It's helping you to do the little things. So you head and do the big things. And the big things is teaching it how to think, because it can never be human. So it needs to know how to think, how to respond, how to stop being repetitive, how to now start being insightful. And it's based on the information that you pump into it. That's when you get all of this feedback. So it helps you, it will help you spot friction points. If you know that this is what it's meant to do, see that information, what am I doing with it? How do I, as I say, come back to the business to say, this is a solution for our next level. So let's see it as our friend, our assistants, and know that we are like we're improvements, basically, we're improving it and helping it get better.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for that. A virtual clap for Elizabeth. Thank you, Lizzie. I really appreciate your time. I would want to hear from Roger. What would be your final words today?
Thanks, Faith. That was awesome, Lizzie. For me, I want to recommend, I have to go back to blind spots. We should start looking for blind spots before we start looking for an AI solution. Before we automate anything, any process, we need to be asking ourselves, what are we currently unable to see? What upstream conditions are creating the problems we're trying to solve? And what human judgment must remain? I think if we anchor ourselves with those as customer operations or customer experience professionals, it keeps us as valuable humans in the loop, to leverage Punsa's term, right? It keeps us valuable because we're constantly searching for what we don't know. Because AI's greatest value isn't just automating what you already see. It's actually in revealing what you don't see. And when you can see those upstream signals earlier, you can make better decisions sooner. And that's where AI and human intelligence become powerful together. So that's my final comment there.
Yeah, powerful, powerful, powerful. That's awesome. It doesn't reveal what you already know or see, it reveals what you do not see so that you're able to make critical human judgment, right? And get results. Roger, what would be your final words for us today?
You mean Punsa?
Yeah, sorry, Punsa.
I will talk again. I'll talk again.
And would love to listen again anyway. All right,
I think
what would be your final words?
Just one word. Let's be conscious of the fact that accounting was a very powerful profession before. Tech was a very powerful profession before, and that happened to them. It can happen to us. We need to go back to the classroom and start learning to understand our organization's core business goals, the CXS. How can we be able to support those goals and prove that we are supporting those goals? If we cannot do that, we are irrelevant in the loop. That would be my final word.
And that really points to learning. So as customer operations professionals, we cannot stop learning, we cannot stop evolving as the technology evolves as well. And I have so many things that I'm walking away with in this from this webinar. And I'm just going to state some of the things that I've learned. And I believe that our audience have also learned something meaningful and tangible as regards AI and human beings when it comes to CX operations, right? AI is not coming to replace customer operations professionals like people might think. It is coming to liberate them from the transactional work so they can do what they were always meant to do, which is to think strategically, empathize deeply, solve complex problems, and build relationships that matter with their clients. And but that only works if businesses are intentional about it. And that's what Roger was talking about when he was reminding us about the blind spots, right? And that only works as well if we are actively developing the human capabilities that make the difference, which is what Elizabeth also highlighted for us. And across Africa, we have an opportunity to do this differently from the ground up, which is Punsa's point as well. So if you are a customer operations professional, the work you are being asked to do is now real and it matters. So you have to start building, you have to start evolving. If you have started building, it means you have to continue building. If you have started learning, you have to continue learning. All right. So, a lot of things have been learned. Thank you so much for these insightful contributions. Thank you for the conversations. It's been helpful. And I, for one, have learned a lot. So I want to say thank you for joining the conversation. Thank you to our audience as well for joining the conversation. If you would like to continue the discussion, please stay connected with CX Outsourcing. They put together this webinar. We have more webinars and resource trainings. We have a lot of resources coming. We have a lot of resources right now, and we still have a lot of resources coming, and would love you to be a part of the community. So if you haven't already registered to become a part of the community, I would like to encourage you to register for our next webinar and join our community platform as well. The work of building better customer operations in this age of AI is not something any of us should be doing alone. We should be doing it together, learning together, sharing insights together, and growing together as well. All right. So that is where I'm going to draw the curtain today. It's been such a delight being your host or your moderator for this webinar. Once again, my name is Faith Adebayo. Have a wonderful evening. I wouldn't know if the convener, Judith, would want to say one or two things before we end the meeting. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone. I was very particular about putting this together, and I'm like, this is so magical. I was here with my pen. I was like, yes, yes, yes. You all are so passionate, and I'm like, I need to, for lack of a better word, I'll thank the Holy Spirit. These guys, I mean, the synergy was just there. So thank you so much for honoring this. And everybody else has said here, we need to just like keep learning. And I, for one, have learned here. And I'm just super grateful that you guys honored this. And we are going to have this recording published just so that people can also listen and make reference to it. We'll also like share nuggets that you all have shared as industry leaders. So thank you once again for giving us your time, because time is valuable. This is over an hour of your time. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And to Faith, thank you so much for carrying this conversation. It was so entertaining. I had such a good time. Thank you so much. I'm just
Thank you so
I
much.
have nothing to add, but I have a full book here. Something I don't know what you are doing. I thought you're supposed to be speaking. I said, no, I'm not supposed to be speaking. I'm supposed to be writing, please. I have my community to give. So thank you for doing justice to this. Yeah, thank you very much. Bye, everyone.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thank
Lizzie.
you.
Thank you, Busta. Thank you, Roger. Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
God bless
Bye.
everyone.
Enjoy the
God
rest
bless.
of
Have a
your
good
evening.
weekend. Thank you for having us.
You too. Bye.